Happy Friday, Wildcat fans. It is game week, or is game day almost. We are here less than 24 hours out. We have a ton to get to on this show. But as always, thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats, and making this your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we are here. We are less than, well, be honest here, about 36 hours out from game time right here. And again, this isn't your normal game. Now, you might say, Mike, what do you mean this isn't your normal game? This is NAU. Well, you got to remember, though, that Arizona also lost NAU a couple years ago. Now, this is a drastically different team. We all know that. But we are going to talk about, what this game means. We'll also look ahead a little bit to Mississippi State. But Arizona needs to be able to win this game, and they need to be able to win this game in style. And I know that some people are against running up the score. I am not one of those people against running up the score. As a matter of fact, I would like to see Arizona run up the score, maybe to the tune of 70-7. Just saying right there. Now, what needs to happen in this game right here? First, again, the offense, which is going to be the strength of this team, needs to dominate. And when I say it needs to dominate, it needs to dominate. They need to be able to score at will pretty much every time down the field, be able to get that ball into the end zone. And remember last year, if there's one thing about Jedd Fisch's teams in the first couple of years, it's been a little, a little sketchy, would be the goal line offenses. And when Arizona gets inside the 20, don't get fancy. Don't start trying to do a bunch of trick plays and things like that. Just pump the ball into the end zone. Again, you have better players than the other team. Act like it. But I would expect Arizona to be able to do that. I'm very bullish on this team and what they're going to be able to do this year. Now, with a big part of it, you got to go with Jayden de Laura right here. This is going to be your quarterback right here. The depth chart was released. And again, obviously, Jayden de Laura is that dude. You need him to be that dude. And not only do you need Jayden de Laura to be that dude, you need him to be the player that other guys kind of gravitate towards. Because again, this isn't a situation where you're breaking in a new quarterback or he's got limited reps. Nah, he's been around. He's been around the block. He needs to be able to play with a consistency that I think that he should be able to, quite frankly. Now, another big part of what Arizona needs to do then is also to just be able to play smash mouth football. And that is I think that's a little bit of a underrated quality in all of this, is that when you can just look at the other team and say, we're better than you, we're just going to run the ball right at you, you need to be able to do that. And I think that there's no reason to believe that Arizona can't do that. And honestly, I expect them to. And a big part of that, too, is also Michael Wiley. Michael Wiley is one of the best all-purpose running backs in the country that nobody really knows about. That's the other thing, too. Nobody really knows about Wiley and what he can do, but he can run the ball. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. There's just a lot of different things that he can do, and quite frankly, he's very good at it. Then after that, you got the bulldozer that is Jonah Coleman, and he's going to be running through behind an offensive line that's got a ton of NFL players. And it's just weird to say that. You almost pause for a second there because it's like, wow, we're not used to talking about that here at Arizona. But you got a ton of NFL players on that offensive line. And again, I think that it needs to be said that Arizona has the capability right there to be able to do exactly that. Now, we talked about those offensive line. This is probably one of the strongest offensive lines that this school has had in quite a while. And Jordan Morgan is obviously back. He has no limitations. I expect him to be very, very good this year. Not only do I expect him to be very good, I also expect him to be able to kind of be the anchor on that side, but it's also going to help him big time because flanking him will be Jonas Savanea on the other side. Savanea, the right tackle, is arguably the best. If there's a better offensive line prospect in the conference, I would love to see it because I don't think that there is. And not only do I not think that there is, I would be very surprised if there is because, again, you don't really find a lot of dudes like Big Jonah out there. You just don't. And he's a different animal. And then on the interior, you got a bunch of guys who have already flashed. You already know what they can do, whether that's Wendell Moe coming back for another year, or Robert Polito coming in as a freshman, or you also have Josh Baker in there. There is just a lot to like about this squad right here. And honestly, I think that Arizona fans should be ecstatic about the possibilities that are in front of them right now. Now, a couple other things then that we need to look at is how are the tight ends going to look? Because, again, Jedd Fisch has talked about how he wants the tight end to be a big part of the offense. And he should want the tight end to be a big part of the offense because it is a big part of the offense right there. I think one thing that we do need to know, though, is with Tanner McLaughlin, we talked about it before. He's probably an NFL tight end. How much run does Kean Burnett get, especially early on? Because Kean has shown out that he's about 6'5", 245, something like that. And not only that, he's the dude who he's the guy who, let's just be honest here. He can do a lot of different things. He's big, he's physical, and he can catch the ball, which is a big part of it. I'm very curious to see how Arizona uses him because, again, there's a lot to like about him. We just got to find out how exactly Arizona can utilize him. But those are the dudes right there. And then our guy, Rayshon Speedy Luke, Fam, as we affectionately call him. He's a dynamo. He's at about 5'8", 160 something, or 170 maybe. But you got to get the ball in his hands. Don't care how you do it. You just got to get the ball in his hands. And get the ball in his hands, he's going to be able to break some plays. We've seen this time and time again in the scrimmages, and it's impressive to watch. Everybody knows that, if he gets the ball, Speedy Fam, a.k.a., is probably going to be gone to the house. So, again, check that one out right there. All right, now, before we go any further, though, you might say to yourself, all right, I need to be able to get to where can I get some of this? Where could I maybe find games at the last second right here that I didn't already know about? And we got your answer. Gametime. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. That's how cool it is right now. Gametime is where it's at. I know people that have gotten last-second tickets for football for Gametime. Or they've also maybe gone to some concerts as well. I have a friend going up to a Metallica concert today, and he got all of his stuff from Gametime as well. So again, check it out. Gametime, good folks there, good people, good friends. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. You will be happy you did it. A lot of people are using it, and there's a reason why. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you. Thanks for listening to Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. All right, now, what do we need out of the defense? We just need energy out of the defense. That's all I care about with the defense. I just need energy. Last year was a combination of errors, to be quite frank, where you would have a defense that, didn't want that basically played almost a kind of a prevent, but at the same time, they made up for it by allowing you to get run through them or run past them or fly past them. It was essentially that simple right there. You bring in Dwayne Aquina, obviously, along with Johnny Nansen right there. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Because I think Dwayne Aquina can bring. Well, I know Dwayne Aquina brings a great deal of expertise to the equation. So again, check that one out because I think you're going to see him. He's going to be able to coach this year, and I think that he's going to bring a great deal of excitement to the fold. Now on the defensive line, obviously the depth chart was released. You got Taylor Upshaw at that defensive end spot. And then opposite him, you got Isaiah Ward. Love both those guys. Taylor Upshaw, obviously a transfer from Michigan via Colorado. And then on the other side, Isaiah Ward, somebody who when he came in was pretty thin, but after a while you could tell that there's something here for sure. And I think the coaching staff certainly feels that. Those are your two ends right there. And then on the inside, no matter what the depth chart says, it's Tyler Manoa. It's Tyler Manoa and it's Tyler Manoa, and then it's Big Bill Norton, our guy, Big Bill Norton out of Georgia. But that's going to be your line right there. And honestly, there's some pretty good depth right there. If you got Deuce Davis, probably going to be the secondary edge rusher. Then you got Tia Savea behind that. You got Tai Uiagalelei, Kangaika, all those dudes. So again, there's actually some decent depth there. Now again, it's unproven, but I think we're going to find out pretty quickly whether these guys are good, what they are, exactly they are, but. The one thing Jedd Fisch talked about was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's been able to do exactly that. And again, that's a tip of the cap to Jedd Fisch right there because a lot of times coaches come in and they don't do what they say they're going to do. Jedd Fisch has come in and he has done exactly what he said he was going to do. And again, we salute Jedd Fisch on that one. All right, now a couple other things then that we need to look at. That the linebacker core. Right now you've got Justin Flo and Jacob Manu right next to him. Obviously, Manu, I think, is going to be a tackle machine. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he led the conference in tackles this year. That's how good he is. Like we've talked about before, though, the key is getting downhill. The key is making those tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And if you can make those tackles behind the line of scrimmage, then I think you're going to be in a pretty good spot. Then after that, you've got a couple different avenues in play right there. You've got to be able to get Haimuli. I think he's pretty good in pass coverage. He's also a pretty good as a run stopper. We're going to find out though, because he's largely unproven. But again, he was at a school that was producing a lot of NFL players, so I can't really hold that one against him too much. But those are your two linebackers. Justin Flo is going to be in there. The problem, like we talked about, Justin Flo is probably the most quick twitch athlete on the team, but Justin Flo struggles in pass coverage. It just kind of is what it is. That's always going to limit him to a certain degree, but that doesn't mean that he can't. That's going to limit him entirely because it shouldn't. But those are the dudes right there those are the guys right there that are kind of the ones that you really want to see make that move. Those are going to be your three linebackers. And again, there's going to be some other dudes in play there, but those are the three that are going to be getting the majority of the reps right there. Very curious to watch Justin Flo. Then at those in that secondary, it's fascinating because you're going to be going with Dylan Wyatt, transfer obviously at Poly, who's been very, very good in camp. Then you got Ephesians Prysock on the other side. Prysock is, we talked about him all off season. We need Prysock to be able to be kind of an NFL corner, lack of a better term. Just need Prysock to be an NFL corner. If he can be an NFL corner, I think that Arizona is going to be in very, very good shape. And then at that other spot, you're going to have Traden Stukes there. Stukes isn't great, but Stukes is solid. He has been, he's been with the program. He knows what he's doing. And I think the coaching staff is more than comfortable with him in that quasi-nickel role right there. And then after that, you got Takario Davis, who's going to get minutes for sure. We'll see where G7 comes in there, but there's a lot to like right there. Then after that, you've got the safeties. I don't believe the depth chart they put out. I think the depth chart they put out is very suspect. Obviously, you got Gunnar Maldonado right there. Gunnar can hit, but Gunnar can't cover. But the coaching staff loves Gunnar, so Gunnar's always going to play. Then after that, you got trying to think here. Then after that, you've got you got Gunnar Maldonado. Then Isaiah Taylor is not starting, quote unquote, but it feels like he will start. Genesis Smith isn't on the 2 deep for whatever reason. I don't believe any of those. I think that's all poppycock. I do believe that those guys are going to play the majority of the snaps. But maybe a little bit of gamesmanship from Jedd Fisch, which I'm not necessarily opposed to. And then obviously we've been calling for this all off season. I need our guy Speedy Luke to return kicks. I ask for very little, but in this regard, I need Speedy to return kicks. That's all I am asking for. And if he can return kicks, then I think that Arizona's going to be in good shape. Just need you to hold on to the ball right there. And I think Arizona will be, more than okay. Now, a couple things to certainly keep in mind, though, are Arizona, if the game's close, decent special teams. We haven't always been able to say that at Arizona. Decent special teams, which we very much like to be able to say because we've seen where we've had kickers who have kicked the ball into the butt of the linemen, caused concussions. We don't need any of that right here. We need we just need a field goal kicker in Tyler Loop to make everything inside 45, which he's very good at. And Kyle Ostendorp is obviously one of the best punters in the country. So I feel very good about where we are in the grand scheme. Now, we're going to get to predictions here right after the break. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Thanks for making this your first listen of the day. All right, now it's time for predictions. All right, I think Arizona is going to blast NAU, and I have no problem with running up the score right here. I think this is going to be something like 56-7, 56-10, something like that. I like Arizona to cover on the cover. Maybe check out FanDuel for that, and I think they're going to look good in the process. Again, it's not going to really be a statement per se, but it is a little bit of a statement just because, you remember that NAU beat you. They talked a bunch of garbage. So you're probably going to remember that, and you're probably going to look to smoke them. And I think that's exactly what is going to happen this coming this Saturday. And a big part of this, too, is the springboard to Mississippi State. If you're Arizona, you want to be able to not only beat Mississippi. If you could beat Mississippi State, then you really start to announce your arrival right there. Because again, a lot of people aren't giving Arizona a chance against Mississippi State. I think they're being a little foolish right there. I think Arizona can absolutely beat Mississippi State. And not only do that, I might even be picking Arizona to beat Mississippi State. Keep in mind, new coach, obviously, a lot of different players there. So it's hard to say that Arizona doesn't have a chance. I am pretty stoked to see exactly what happens there. But first things first, you got to beat NAU. And again, this shouldn't be a game this is a drastically different Arizona roster right here. And not only is it a drastically different Arizona roster, it's a roster that Jedd Fisch essentially promised that he was going to put together, and he did exactly that. And not only did he do exactly that, he said, all right, this is what we're going to do right here, and he has done just that. Like we talked about, you got NFL players on this team now. You got we didn't even talk about the wide receivers, who I think you can make a case are as good a receiving unit as there is in the country, with Jacob Cowing, T-Mac, Montana, Lamonius Craig, Kevin Green, etc. There's a lot to like about this receiving group, and like I said, I think it's nationally elite. But we're gonna also find all of this out, though. But right now, if you're Arizona, just go out and take care of business against NAU. There's no need for gadgetry. There shouldn't be any need for trick plays and all of that stuff. You just got to be able to beat NAU and make it look easy. Get off the field, get those starters some really good reps, but then also get them ready for the next game. All right. Now, We will be back with you Monday, talking about some Arizona, obviously talking about Arizona NAU, everything that went down in that game. Because again, we are here. This is a big game. It's generally, you don't say that about NAU, but this is somewhat of a big game for Arizona. So they got to be able to do their thing. I think they will be able to. And I got a lot of faith in Jedd Fisch and this coaching staff, because again, they've come through with their promises. They put together a much more talented roster, and that's just kind of where we're at this stage. All right. So on that note, we're going to sign off. But again, back the A, make it out to the stadium. Again, like Dave Hickey said, we need all you out there right there. Be great to see it again. Let's get 55,000 fans in there, because this is a new era of Arizona football. But like I said, be back with you Monday. As always, thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day.